that tree's coming down. I
Oh,
don't
is
know-
it? Okay.
Don't know when. I need to get with Dino and find out when he's gonna do it, but if not, it's gonna all fall down.
Okay. I just didn't know if you'd wait to trim that frozen street off.
I don't, if you look at all the trunks, they're all rotten.
You need to get city approval for that.
Yeah.
You might.
All right, are we ready to do this? Nancy, you ready? Okay. Good morning, it's 10:01, we'll call this meeting of Wichita County Commissioners Court to order. If everyone please rise. This time I'd like to call on Commissioner Finn Cannon to give the invocation.
Pray with me. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you, Lord, for allowing us to be here today. Thank you, Lord, for more than anything, just allowing us to be able to worship you and give thanks to you for everything that you do for us and our community. I continue to ask, Lord, that you be with us today as we try to do what's best for the citizens of Wichita County and take care of their business moving forward with the agenda here. I just keep that in my heart. Lord, we pray and give thanks for all this through your Son, Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Y'all join in pledge of allegiance, please. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now the Texas pledge.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, take seats, please. This time, I'd like to ask if anyone in the audience has anything to bring up for public comment. It is 10:02. And hearing none, I will close that at 10:02 also. Can I ask the court to take action on the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
I'll second it, Judge.
Thank you. Any comments or questions by anyone? Okay. All in favor of the motion by Commissioner Beecham, second by Commissioner Watson to approve the consent agenda as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Item number 1 on general business is review and approve the regular bills for payment, order the county treasurer to disperse payroll and bill payments within 72 hours unless otherwise directed.
So moved.
Second.
Anyone have any comment or question on the bills? Okay. Hearing none, we have a motion by Commissioner Fincannon and second by Commissioner Beecham to approve as stated. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Item number 2 is discuss, consider, or take action to adjust the salaries for the court reporters for the remainder of FY 2021 and for FY 2022 to be paid from Department 409 with specific lines determined by the county auditor. Judge McKnight?
So, as of today, I am without a court reporter. I lost my court reporter effective Friday. A court reporter of 23 years that left to go to Wilbarger County for substantially higher pay, specifically $90,000. So, Wilbarger County's tax base is substantially different than ours. That's a 3-county district. Judge King previously lost a court reporter to Fannin County, which is a substantially smaller district, substantially smaller tax base for $97,000. So when we look at the current salaries of the Wichita County court reporters, we are far below the market. I cannot get an application. It's been posted for 2 weeks. I have had 0 applications. We reached out through court reporters associations. We've reached out to the court reporters themselves, contacting people that they know, and the response we get back is not at that salary. So I can't hire anybody. And at this point, I've struggled to even find substitutes on contract basis. We probably called 15 to 20 different people or firms looking for substitutes. Can't find them. I can't try a jury trial this week because I don't have a court reporter. So I get to achieve exactly nothing this managed to find one for the second jury week and the third jury week at the cost of $400 per day plus a hotel. That gets real expensive real fast. So right now, we're looking at the average. If you look at Rockwall, Tom Green, Potter, Kaufman, Wichita, Grayson, Randall, Taylor, and Parker County, the average district court reporter salary for those counties is $95,000. If you add in the fact that we've lost to Fannin County for 97 and to Wilbarger County for 90, we have a problem. And if we don't have a court reporter, we can't move forward.
And what would your recommendation be, Jeff?
I believe that we're gonna have to be at 100 to get somebody. With the understanding that obviously that'll be dictated by experience. But, I mean, I lost a 23-year court reporter over $90,000. So, something's gonna have to change. Or, nothing's gonna happen. Judge Kennedy's in the same position at the end of this year.
What are
Which is
other
fast
counties like?
approaching.
Can I add to that? My court reporter, who's probably the second longest sitting, Nardi, said that she was thinking of retiring at the end of the year. So I started informally looking, and then we also put out a posting. I received 0 applications, even at the higher one, because we did do the 10% this year. My posting said 82.5, because it would need to start until January. I've received 0 applications. I did try to recruit someone who had subbed for us from another county. She's in Dumas right now as a county court at law, and she said she couldn't take it because it doesn't pay enough. We're both looking at exactly the same thing. And when Nardi was out, her husband had COVID, so she was out for a couple of weeks. We did the same thing, called 15 different court reporters or court reporting services. I couldn't even find a sub for Zoom hearings. So it's tight right now, everybody's back open, and so court reporters they're just busy. We're gonna have a hard time finding subs, and it's gonna cost us a lot of money to get on here. So I think the salary increase is necessary in order for us to even hire somebody.
And that's something that we would initiate immediately then for even this year.
And unless you want us to be shut down at the end of the year.
No.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, and we're competing, whether we like it or not, we're competing with Denton County, Collin County. Denton County's paying their court reporters $130,000. Now, I'm not saying that's our tax base, and I'm not saying that's where we're at, but
sure.
if they can go to Denton for 100 or 130 compared to here, there's a big difference. But we're even behind the average for our size, substantially behind the average, actually. I mean, I'm having to advertise at 75 right now because that's what the salary is for this year.
We also need to recognize that if you all had, you gave us, you can raise court reporter salaries 10% every year. That's within your prerogative to do that. You all have skipped some years in there, which has probably left us now lagging behind. So if you took just 2 years ago when you didn't do that, and we had done that, and we'd done it last year, and then now, you would be at 96 or 7,000, I think it's what we.
Maybe just under 91.
Yeah, that's right, it's only 2 years that we, not 3. So, but there have been years before that you all hadn't, or you only did 5%. But one of the problems is, and we're lucky here, Vernon College has opened a court reporter school. They will not have any graduates until next spring. And just because you finish court reporter school doesn't mean you're ready to come bust the doors open and take on a capital murder trial or anything of any significance.
Well, and Judge Bernard's court reporter, she started in the district courts after 2 years of experience. And her response to me was, I went home and cried every single day because I was so overwhelmed. But you're talking about asking somebody to come in and listen to these continuous sexual assault cases and transcribe it, keeping track of all the evidence, straight out of school. Right now, my requirement is 2 years of experience, which frankly is probably too low for a district court. But if
what
I'm
he
still
did.
not getting applications, it really doesn't matter.
Are any counties getting applications? Because we can't be the only county facing this trouble.
It's a statewide problem.
So what are most other counties doing?
Raising salary.
So everybody's just raising salaries.
Well, and that was a pretty comprehensive list that you gave us of similar-sized counties that
Right.
we can see we're behind that curve greatly.
So Rockwall County has a tax base of 33 million, they're paying 92. Tom Green has a tax base of 39 million and some change, they're paying 96.6. Potter County, which is, their tax base is 50, they're paying 104, which they're a little bit outside of ours. We're at 38 with a tax base of 80, a salary of 82. Grayson County's a tax
Starting
base.
next year.
Right,
We're
starting
still at
next year.
75 right now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Grayson County has a tax base of 36 million, they're paying 94. Randall has a tax base of 40, they're paying 104. Parker, tax base of 31 million, and they're paying 94.9.
Judge, I think that's their tax revenue, because our tax base is over 7 billion.
Yeah, it's the revenue.
But it's the revenue.
Yeah, but they're very similar.
Yeah,
But those
And-
are all similar situated.
And
The
Randall's
second
got to,
lowest in that group.
Randall has to compete with Potter, so they had to keep their salary up there the same.
Right.
Well, and if you look at the numbers of like where Judge King lost his to Fannin County's tax revenue is only 10 million, but they're paying their court reporter 97. So.
How many court
It's
reporters?
market that's driving it, and I know it's government work, but it's market that's driving it. There's just not enough court reporters. And they're all starting to age out, and so the competition to get them is harder.
How many district courts do most of those counties have that you're naming off? Like Wilburger County, doesn't it just have one?
For 3 counties.
Right. But their caseload is considerably smaller. That's why they cover the 3 counties, correct?
which is even a better deal.
I mean, they only have.
Yeah, 'cause they don't-
They only have something like 10 jury trials a week in that a year in that
Right.
range district, but, I mean, they're paying higher than ours, and we're gonna have 28 next year.
And is part of that, though, not that, because we have more trials, we have more appeals and transcripts that have to be prepared, so that court reporter gets a greater income for doing more work.
Correct.
They're
Very well
probably,
paid.
yeah, they're not having the opportunity to do as many, so that base salary may be higher. But what people look at is what's the base salary. They don't care about the number of transcripts until they get the money.
And that's an unknown.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
completely. And if you take the last year and a half, it's been zero,
Yeah,
virtually zero.
yeah.
But the court shuts down. I mean, I'm trying a family law case for him this week because I'm just lucky that I have the time to do it.
Mhm.
We've got 500, last I checked, which was last Thursday, we had 504 people in jail waiting their day in court. These three district courts can't shut down. Judge Butler and I can only pick up the slack on certain things. We can't do felony jury trials for them. We can do their family law, we have concurrent jurisdiction on that. But, we can only provide so much support. They need to be up and running.
And their reporters have, when they can, they're quick to fill in. I mean, the reporters are quick to kind of just go wherever they're needed when they're available. But like I talked to Judge Kennedy about this week, and her reporter wasn't available, they're cram packed this week. Last week, in fact, Gail's the one that helped pull this information, Judge King's coordinator, so I'm greatly appreciative to her. But I was in trial all week. I didn't have time to get this information because I knew that I had to get the last little bit out of the reporter that I had. In fact, we had to turn evidence back in for a 2-day bench trial that we didn't finish with probably 70 exhibits. We had to turn it back over to the DA's office so that they could hold it for what's gonna be a substitute reporter's job to get it all uploaded and everything if it's necessary to go to court of appeals. So, I mean,
Yeah,
not
it's
having an official court reporter, like I said, I can't do anything this week.
dead in the water. Yeah.
And I I'm only able to do anything so far because I've managed to find a substitute that only takes long-term assignments.
And I think it's, you know, we think about jury trials and saying we only have 28 or whatever, it's not every week, but district courts are a court of record. So everything we do in our courts pretty much has to be with a court order. For instance, I just got out of a motion to transfer venue. That sounds like an easy thing, we decided to pursue the case, but it has to be on the record because it's appealable at the end of the case and it can be reversible error. So even small hearings that we have leading up to a trial require a court order.
And we've had to retry cases because of court order issues, expensive cases.
Well, Judge, it'd be my motion that we change the salary to $100,000. I don't think we have an option.
Doesn't sound like we do have much of an option. I'll second.
Now, that's effective the beginning of the next pay period
Yes, sir, I would
for
think
all
so.
court reporters.
So it's
Yeah.
a budget amendment for this current year and a budget amendment, separate budget amendment for the next year. You have to take both, right?
Right. Yeah, in both of those. Now, judges, help me on this. We've traditionally had $1,000 difference between the county court at law and the district court reporters. Do you wish to maintain that?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't think you can punish the ones that are still here.
No.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
That's not what no, I just asked that because the motion, I need to get that motion, right now, it would go all the way across, and what Judge King's saying is we'll maintain, just like we do with the court coordinators, there's,
So the county court reporters being 99?
yes.
So right now, everybody in the house will get a raise to the 99 or 100.
If the salary will allow that, it's up to the judge if they
No.
want to do all of that or not.
Okay.
So if I may restate this, that your motion was to approve for the district court reporters, a salary beginning at the beginning of the next pay period of up to $100,000. And for the county court at law reporters, up to $99,000.
Yes,
For
sir.
both 2021 and 2022. Is that,
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
anything y'all see you need to add to that?
I don't think so.
Okay. Any comments or questions, anyone in the audience or on the phone? Okay, hearing none, then I will call for the vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you all very much.
Thank you all.
We
Thank
appreciate
you.
it very
I
much.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
We'll keep you updated on where the search leads us.
All right, item number 3 is discuss and consider and or take action to award the HVAC bid. Mr. Beecham?
Yes, Judge, we only had one that came in timely. It's Trinity. I did review the bid from Trinity with Rick. The numbers look good to him, everything is in line, so I could go through each of the numbers if you'd like, or just enter it into record.
No, it's just as an exhibit unless someone has a question on those,
So,
seem like market value.
okay, I'll enter it into record then, and it'll be my motion to accept the bid from Trinity to take over our HVAC.
I'll second that.
When is that effective?
Immediately.
Immediately.
Well, good group, and, we're familiar with them, so Mark, I don't understand why more aren't interested, but,
Well, we had some others that came in late. They did not reach the court in time to open, so.
We're gonna, Nancy and I talked a little, and I can't remember, it seemed like somebody else, of maybe trying to get those where they're due on Friday afternoons instead of them waiting till Monday and sending it through the mail, which
Yeah.
means it doesn't get here until 11. And, that,
When the bids come electronic, it should be easy.
Well, I think in the RFP request, I asked for them electronically too, so
Okay. All right. Motion by Commissioner Beecham, second by Commissioner Fincannon to accept the bid from Trinity Air Conditioning only for courthouse HVAC maintenance contract, and that's to begin immediately. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Item number 4 is discuss, consider, take action to approve the purchase of Duo two-factor. I don't see anyone from IT here.
I
Okay,
thought George would have been here.
Pretty
we're
calm.
gonna skip that one. Okay, item 5 is discuss, consider, take action to amend Court Order 21.1008.734 to read as follows: to authorize the use of ARPA funds to provide premium pay to positions in Department 561 as listed below for remainder of 2021, be broken out by pay period as a supplement stipend pay, which will not be part of their regular hourly amount. Amounts to be paid from the lines determined by the county auditor. Maximum ARPA pay per position shall be $300 per pay period for the remainder of 2021, effective pay period starting October 15th, 2021, and will be applicable to the following positions. Positions 12 through 14, jail sergeant. Positions 15 through 22, jail corporal. Positions 24, 25, trustee officers and jailers. Positions 38 through 81, jailer 1. Positions 82 through 119, jailer 2. Positions 120 through 129, jailer 3. Positions 130 through 132, jailer 4. And positions 133 through 144 for jailer 5. Position 147, male officer jailer, and position 148, building engineer 2, jailer, and 149, building engineer 1, jailer, and position 150, jail facility trustee officer. What I don't think, I want to be sure we're doing this intentionally, we had those other jailers in 409 in the contingency budget. Should those not parallel this also?
They should, if we could get to that point before the end of the year.
Okay.
This may help us get to that point by the end of the year.
All right. Ms. Jones, you see any problem with that?
No, I just believe
Okay.
Can I ask what the current ARPA stipend is right now per pay period?
200. But
So,
this,
yeah, currently it's a max $5,200 for the year. We broke it
Right.
out, so $200 a pay period.
So right now it's $5,200,
Yeah.
and you're wanting to move it to $7,800 for the rest of the year. Then I
That
have
would
some,
be adding $100 to it, right?
Per pay period, yeah.
what we tried to do there, we all, and Carol, I can see it, I just didn't catch on, tried to tell us that this was not part of their hourly pay. So what this would do is that stipend would then make that overall base salary, when you combine the stipend and what the county salary was adjusted to, then you're now hitting the range of, of Clay County. And so we've lost jailers to Clay County. Hopefully this will come back. But once again, it's very similar. This is what the market, it's a problem across the state. It's an incredible problem with the state criminal justice institutions. Their numbers are down are unbelievable, and they're offering more money than we are. But the working conditions are certainly a lot different than what we will have in our new facility. Commissioner?
all right. I'd like to discuss this a little bit further. And the reason being, I've got some notes here, and I'm just saying this to the court, so everybody's kind of on board
Hey,
with what we're
Mickey,
doing.
Let me ask right quick, can you get me to the 78? What, Cheryl, and I know you told me, and that's just my denseness, but there was something, why did we go from 52 to 78? What was the ultimate reason?
The ultimate reason, well, apparently there was some misinformation initially that we thought, that it was thought the ARPA supplement raised the hourly base rate, which would include their overtime, and there's considerable amounts of overtime in the jail. However, ARPA is a supplement, it has to be listed out supplement, we put a cap on it. So if we were to raise the hourly rate and the overtime, then, once those, workers reach $5,200, then they would almost be getting a pay cut. That's how it would feel to them at least, even though they reached their cap. It was a raise, we raised them over the 2020 numbers. And so, yeah, it was brought to our attention, that was the case. But for tracking purposes for ARPA, and for the legislation on it, it has to be a supplement, you can't raise their base rate. So in effort to try to find a compromise so that they wouldn't feel shorted on their overtime pay and so forth, we decided that raising the ARPA rate, we can raise the ARPA rate, but we can't mess with the base rate because the budget is not passed. So we can change the ARPA supplement considerably, and so that was our compromise. That's how we got the 5,200 to 78. We tried to kind of find a median overtime rate that they would be getting and try to include that in, and so that's where we got to 7,800.
I wanted to make sure I was clear on that. I took it that way, but I just wasn't sure how we calculated the additional 26 or whatever.
Yeah,
That was
I'm sorry, Commissioner.
maybe an average
it's kind of.
overtime, an average overtime,
Yeah,
which the overtime in the jail is astonishing. $60,000 a pay period? That pretty close? Would you agree?
yes.
Normally,
20,000 hours a year.
normally around $60,000 a pay period, which is, to me, is almost unfathomable. But that's from the sheriff's department and the jail. But I want to go back over this just for the citizens, because we have struggled with jail staffing since I've been around and before. In 2021, we agreed to give $1,500 immediate pay raise to the jail entry-level staff to try to get their pay up, to incentivize some people to stay there and to hire on, because we're short. In the 2022 budget, there was a proposed $1,200 across-the-board countywide pay raise. So right there is $2,700 that those entry-level jailers are getting to start with. The Sheriff's Department proposed a budget when they came into budget proposals for 2022 as of across-the-board Sheriff's Department pay raise per employee of $3,500, which the Commissioners Court, we, in these budget hearings, pretty much thought that was a no-starter. That was too large a bit of money, too much of it would be a tax burden on the taxpayers. So we, trying to come to a compromise with the Sheriff's Department, because of jail, U.S. Marshal income that we get, there's roughly $900,000 a year that we're not guaranteed, but it has been historically that we've been getting money from the U.S. Marshal. So we agreed to take half that money, give it to the Sheriff's Department, and let Will and his command staff come up with a solution to try to combat this jail staffing issue. When you take the employee benefits and retirement out of that, that comes to about $360,000 to $380,000 that y'all actually had to work with. Y'all came back with a plan to the court, which primarily gave $560,000 the pay raise with the $360,000 to $380,000. But while y'all were doing this, we found out that we could spend ARPA money. So y'all then, instead of disbursing that money that we allocated for that reason, y'all pretty much stuck it in $560,000 and took the ARPA funds and supplemented $561,000 jail staff, which ARPA funds are ending. They're going to end in 2 years. There's no more of them. This is something we have to spend now and then it's gone. And I voiced a lot of concerns then about using ARPA funds to fund staff hourly pay, because that is going to come to an end. And at that time, we can't just lower our staff salary. They'll all walk out on us. So I made lots of comments that I was going along with that, but I really didn't agree with it. So we agreed to do that. So that was basically a $5,200 pay raise for the jailers, somewhere in that area. Is that right, Cheryl? Somewhere around that? Okay. So we agreed on that $5,200 for 561. As it came out as a supplement. So they're getting they got 1,500, they got 1,200, and I'm primarily talking about just entry-level jail is what because that's where we've had trouble staffing. So that $2,700 that they're getting before that, and now they're getting $5,200 in ARPA. So we came back saying now that that's not fair, so we need to give a bigger supplement. And that's where I was curious. Thank you, Cheryl, for telling us how we came with the 2,600, because the email that I know you had contacted Judge Gossam and said that we had a couple of different options. When you first got that information from the Sheriff's Department, you said there were 3 options. You could just keep it at the $5,200. We could, your original deal said maybe give them $1,000 or $2,000 per position, or maybe even try to convert the $5,200 to an hourly pay. I said before in court that I very much am in favor of giving the jail raises to get their pay up market value. I was opposed to using ARPA because this is going to come back and bite the citizens. But I've talked to Cheryl, I've talked to different people through the courthouse. Most people that I've found, including the auditor's office, were not opposed to leaving it at the $5,200 like we had already approved in the budget. But I'm going to go on just a little bit further. If we, right now we've gave all these raises. We have not moved into our new facility. We have a new facility waiting. We're losing employees in the jail. We have been. There's 3 reasons normally that you're gonna change a job. One is the environment you work in, your building, your atmosphere, where you work. Second is going to be your coworkers, your supervisors, the people you have to work with. And third is going to be money and benefits, payroll. Right now we have done nothing but try to keep changing our payroll without changing anything in our environment, without changing anything in our supervisors, coworkers. We are continually throwing money at it, and so far it hasn't done anything to help. What I'm getting at is we're throwing ARPA funds at it, and if we change it to $7,800, there's what, 132 jailers?
I think there's 132.
Right. So when that ARPA funds runs out, what I'm getting at is this is going to raise tax rate another penny or more. So then we should not have lowered taxes this year if this is what we want to do. We'd be better off to fund it out of our tax account and just tell the citizens we got to pay for it, no different than any other department we can't find staff for. Because if we keep throwing ARPA money, I'm afraid that it's just going to bite us. And we haven't had time to try this, but looking over the pay raises, the auditor's office sent over a scale. All the county employees, all the sheriff's department employees pay from 20, I think it's 19 to 22, or 20 to 22. Oh, yeah. But the diverse, what really caught my eye, if you look at that, and I don't know if y'all, the sheriff's department, have seen that, there's a lot of jail staff there that's getting over a 30%, over 20 to 34, 35% pay raise in 1 year. There's no other county section employment in here that's getting that kind of raise. You know, that's a lot of raise. I've been to several conferences this year talking about how to spend ARPA money with different counties. Every county class that we've had has said not to use ARPA money to pay payroll. They highly recommend you not to do that for this particular reason. When I took office, starting salary for a new jailer was under $29,000 walking in the door. Proposed with this ARPA money, it will be $41,250. That's quite a difference, and I'm not saying it's not justified. I'm just wanting the citizens to know how we're spending the money, because similar county employees, just other county employees, baseline employee, the auditor's office, a accountant, brand new accountant walking in, well, not even a brand new. We have an accountant in there right now with a 4-year degree, had to go to college for 4 years, working in our auditor's office makes $36,000 a year with a 4-year degree. What is required right now to be a jailer? Any one of y'all tell me? High school diploma? And we'll get you through the jail class. Because I've been there. I've been through the jail class, and it's not that hard. Pretty much anybody that graduates high school can do it. You don't agree?
No anymore.
They fell last time.
Well, I'm not.
It has significantly increased hours and training material.
What's the length of it now?
155 hours roughly.
155? Can you do them on duty here?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Typically in city, county government, across the board, city, county, state, we usually look at, and y'all have all been in county government for a long time or city government, and we typically get anywhere from 0 to a 5% raise a year. Cost of living raise, and you don't ever see a city or county go down in pay. Commissioner Watts did a cost analysis deal on a $1995 and a $2022, looking at jail staff employees. Right now, for a 1995 jailer, what their pay was to 2022, he would need to be at $37,000 to be equal to a 95. So our current pay that we have in the budget right this second for 2022 is pretty similar to where it should be. It might not be the market for 2022 as we see it right now, but it's close to where it should be by the inflation index. Next question I have is several months ago, we asked y'all to, as a sheriff's department, the jail primarily, to start doing exit interviews for the jailers. Are y'all still currently doing those?
No, we were for a while, but we lost that personnel manager, unable to fill him, because we are short on patrol staff.
So there's not anybody in the jail that can do an exit interview on
Well,
anybody?
The person that was doing them is no longer there.
Okay,
We had Lieutenant Spiegel doing it, but on top of his other duties at that time.
okay.
We have an HR department at the county.
That can do exit interviews.
To help with that.
Because I did ask I asked HR, what are the outcomes of these exit interviews? And she said that they're not getting them. I was like, well, I know the court asked y'all to do exit interviews because we need to see what the problem is. Because I don't believe, personally, that it's not a pay issue. It gets back to your three things. It's either your work environment, which we haven't got the people moved to the new jail yet to see if that'll help. It's employees, supervisors, or coworkers, or it's pay. We've been changing the pay. We can't change the environment yet. So the only thing we can really look at, we need to be looking at, is our administration staff and our supervisors. And I'm not saying y'all as the administration staff, but I'm saying somewhere in that chain, there might be some problems.
Well, the change in pay, have we seen the check that has a change in pay yet? Has there been a check that has a change in pay? We did, you're right, we were paying $29,000 some change for an entry-level jailer. However, budgeted money was $34,000.
Right.
So really, they started at 29, they did their 6 months, they got a little bit of a bump. 6 months to a year, they usually completed their jail school, they got another bump at the 1 year mark, and that was the final plan. So really, at the year, they got up to their $34,000 and some change.
And you just said a key factor there that really I think matters. What you just said is 100% spot on. Have we really changed their pay yet to where they notice it? No. So why are we throwing more money at it before we even know if it makes a difference? What you said is 100% true. I agree with that.
Well, we know
And-
the pay that we were offering them, we couldn't get applications.
Right.
We had
At
one
that-
that started last week that's already quit, and the reason why, I don't know, he quit Friday, and it just didn't show up.
And there's a lot of people that are going to find the jail just ain't for them. It's mentally and psychologically, it can be a hard place to work. As a supervisor, you have to try to make that a little bit better for them, just however you can. And I'm probably the most pro law enforcement person on this court, just because I've been in it so long. I just want to make sure we're doing the right things for the citizens, because this ARPA money will go away in 2 years, and this will cost our taxpayers 1 to 2 cents on their tax going up, the payroll for the sheriff's department. Now, I would like to ask Cheryl, out of them, on the first three options that you named off, you as a county auditor looking at our budget, what is your opinion on this? Just your opinion only.
Our budget financially, my first thought would be number one,
And number one was to keep it,
at the 5,200. So in 2022, they're getting a $2,200 built-in raise to their base pay plus a maximum of 5,200.
okay,
Our budget is currently passed with reserves to balance it. If we were to spend all of our money, and I know typically we do not, but legally, if we pass the budget that way, we could spend it all, we would be in a huge financial hole.
correct. Now, all right, now from the HR office. From all that you, and because the HR has followed up with quite a few exits from the jail, employees, what's the number one reason people are leaving the jail?
I would say personnel, and we don't hunt these people down, and I have talked with Lisa about it, but it's conflicts with supervisors, it's, lack of support, and when I talked to Lisa, you know, she said, but I do support, and I agree, she does, they do, it's the ones that are in the jail.
Right.
I think it's been difficult. I don't know that the leadership is there, so not
And I'm-
pointing, and we didn't track these employees down, but they came in for one reason or another, and we talked to them.
And that's another key factor of what I'm saying about the three reasons. You can get people to come in and go to work because they see that money and they're agreeing to work for that money. But when they get in there and they see they have a conflict with supervisor, they don't like the way things are being done, or they just don't like the environment for whatever it is. That's back to my little deal. If they don't like the environment, then they're going to leave. It don't matter what you're paying them. If you're working on a farm, you're shoveling manure and you're getting 15 an hour and the boss, you just hate it. And the boss says, well, I'll give you $20 an hour. I just need you to stay and do this. If he don't like doing it, he's gonna quit doing it. Don't matter how much you pay him. There's nurses right now that are making $80,000, $100,000 a year that are leaving their job nowadays because they don't want to do that anymore. And I realize that. So your supervisors, I think we've got a problem with one of the other two things and not the pay thing right now. I think we need to give it a chance to see if any of this pay works.
You also can take into consideration our supervisors, maybe our corporals, maybe some of our sergeants. In the last couple of years, we've had 100% turnover in Jailer 1 positions. So those who are getting promoted to a corporal position, for the most part, only have a year or two of experience. They may not have that leadership experience. They may only be in the 21, 22, 23-year-old bracket.
Right.
So.
And that falls on their,
For what you have.
and that falls on your sergeant and your lieutenants to help them out too, though.
Are we doing any leadership training, specific leadership training, not
They
just
did a
jail training?
supervisor school before when they make supervisor, the old 40-hour supervisor school.
I just wanted to, there again, I'm not trying to be mean to the sheriff's department. I feel pretty strongly on this, and I actually got a call last week that said if I said something like this in court, that the sheriff's department probably would not back me in re-election, and it would probably cost me being a commissioner. I personally, I care more about the citizens than I do one particular thing. I think this is important and we need to address it right. I think there's a problem right now. We're a problem with jail staff, but it's not strictly money. So I think we need to be real careful before we just throw money at it. If we're going to throw money at it, then we need to tax the taxpayers and we need to tell them what we're doing and we need to do it. We're throwing money, ARPA money at it because it's just free money. But in 2 years, it's not going to be free money anymore. We're going to have to pay for it. So what do? I'm just a small member of this court, so we can take a vote on it. We can do what we want to do.
But the ARPA money, and John, correct me if I'm wrong, if we obligate it, we actually have about 3 years past this one we can do that.
That is correct, unless the final rule changes that.
Yeah.
Currently, the interim
Currently,
rule
we
says
can't.
that.
The final rules that were going to be out on October 15th, we thought this year, maybe it's next year. Okay, that will get us there, and Commissioner, your thoughts are valid, I'm not having trouble with those. I'm just saying that a couple things we need to look at in this mix is, part of it's what the chief brought out. We have fairly low experienced leadership. And it may be a combination of those three things. And we have a chance right now with the ARPA funding to at least have that mix. It doesn't mean the sheriff's gonna get all of it and give every bit of that away at the time, but they'll have that, so if they get good people, they have the ability to probably retain them. That's what I'm looking at, that's my line.
All things retention.
And I really want that too.
The ARPA
So
supplement,
I'd like to finish, just a second. The other thing is, we looked at that the other day when we worked on this, and because this money's not subject to overtime, and if we start retaining people and we cut that down, we're actually gonna come out spending less money than projected overtime.
And I'd like to make one statement about that, because I agree with that. Right now, we're paying $60,000 a pay period in overtime. If we could take that, because we're only talking a difference here of $300,000 to $350,000, all we're talking about. If I knew that in a year from now, that you could guarantee us we weren't gonna have $20,000 a pay period in overtime, well, it'd be easy to justify that. But if you increase your payroll to $7,800 instead of $5,200, in a year from now, you're still having as much overtime. It's gonna be more, because you've already gave all these people more raises. We don't have, and there's no way to say, well, you told us it'd be different, so we're gonna lower it. We can't go back and lower it then. That's why it seems like we're not being very cautious. I'm just saying in a budgetary deal, it just doesn't seem cautious for the taxpayers. But like you said, Judge, it's ARPA money. We can spend all the ARPA money we want to on it.
Mr. Beecham?
well, what you said, I don't know is technically accurate. When we're given the ARPA supplement, that'll be paid to everybody. It's not a discretionary, the full amount would go to
Well,
everyone.
it could be, it's a maximum, the court has set a maximum amount.
Okay.
So
So-
really, it is discretionary to some degree to the sheriff's office, whether they want to give 5,200 to one or 7,800 to another. My recommendation would be, the lower positions would get more, but that, we've left it discretionary to that point. But it is a max amount per position, so like, no one can get more than the 7,800 or more than the 5,200, whatever y'all decide it to be. Unless the court deems that you wanna just set it for everybody, that's your discretion as well.
I would like to ask Will one question. When the original 300 and that 450 figure and the 360 to 380 that you dispersed through the sheriff's department, yeah. What was the reason for only using it for the deputies and not using it for the jail? Why not disperse it evenly?
No, we dispersed a lot of it on the deputy side, on the 560 side. Matter of fact, if you looked at it, and I don't have the numbers on top of my head, it was about a 50-50 split, because I used about $144,000 on the 560 side, and I used that rest of that money on the 561 side. And the reason we used it on the 560 side is it had the opportunity to finally put a step pay plan in play for the deputies to help retain the retention of the
Yeah.
deputies, because we had deputies who've been there 20 years making the same amount of money as a deputy that walked on the
Right.
Yeah.
floor today.
And-
So we use that money mainly to generate a step pay
And-
plan.
And we're still considerably lagging our
Yeah.
counterparts
And
in
it-
Wichita Falls.
And for the citizens, a disclaimer here. The sheriff's department, like I've said before, our pay is still a lot less than most counties this size. Our jail staff is probably below most counties this size, but it's still a paying your bill kind of deal. Whether we love you or not, it's all about paying the bills. So,
All the sheriff's departments, all the jails are fighting for the same employees who might not
Correct.
do the job.
there's just more of them, a little bit different than the court reporter, because we're talking there might only be one or two in the
Sure.
state right now that are looking for a job. So it's a little bit different deal, but,
We're also competing here, we're competing with the prison.
right.
They're When I met with them 2 weeks ago, they were running at 65% staff. That's how many people they're down. They're down 200 people.
And it's,
Who was this, Will?
Prison down here,
and that's an environment issue, because they pay good,
200 people.
huh?
You don't want to be down 200 people out there.
What's what I'm saying though, but they have an environment issue there that people don't want to work in. We do to an extent
Are
also.
they still paying the sign-on bonus?
Yeah,
And it's
it
5,000?
was like 5,000 last I knew.
So,
Okay.
Will, talk to me about the breakdown, 1 through 5. Today I'm coming in, you hire me to be a jailer 1, and that should be about 41, or I can get to 41 in
Well,
a
actually,
1?
they walked in the way we had it scheduled, it's 85 or 90% of the, it's 85, so under the new one, it would be 90% of your max pay. And then once you finish jail, once you finish the 6 months, you went to 95%, and then once you finish, or up to 95%.
And what is that gonna be, about 41? Just
Well,
over?
once you finish the 100%,
It would be.
I don't have those numbers in front of me.
And then jailer 5 that gets all his bells and whistles, what would he be at?
45 to 46, 47, somewhere in there. Yeah,
I had it up here.
But that's a 12-year jailer or more.
Right.
And they're doing, and that's where they max out at. They don't, unless the cost of living comes into play, after 12 years, you don't have any more steps.
Right, right. We, when Friday I'd worked on that, what I was telling Mickey to make the dollar hole, at the same time I called Target, and I could start out there, and they'd love for me to come at 32,000. And, you know, that's an inside job, putting clothes on racks, or maybe running a till at some point in time, probably not immediately. I disagreed with Mickey on some concepts there about a 30% raise, a 40% raise. It's all relevant in the money. If I'm paying Mickey $100 a month and I raise his pay to $200 a month, and people screamed because that's astronomical, he got a 100% raise. Well, he wasn't making any money either way. And $40,000 for a fella to, and these are young people for the most part that are starting out and trying to, it's a struggle. It is a struggle. And I just, the ARPA money, I mean, it just delays the county tax dollar from going to work for a period of time, maybe 3 years. By that point, we're probably already there, but we're talking about a difference of less than $400,000, right, Cheryl? So, you know, we're talking about a half a cent roughly on what we've got to do, but we certainly at that point know that we're at least in line with our competitors, and we don't have to, because you've done absolutely nothing. If we give them, we pay them all in the high 30s, and we can't get anybody still to come and apply, or what you do get is iffy, we've not done anything. I mean, other than spin our wheels, because we spend so much time training, and then they leave, and we start it all over again. And just like you said, Jailer 1 changing out just lickety-split. I mean, this isn't all red, but at the same time, it's not, you know, great. But I just want us to get to a point where I feel like that we can say, hey, we're paying, you know, there's a lot of things that can occur at the jail that are unpleasant that we wouldn't necessarily experience in Lori's office or Patty's office or even George's office. It wouldn't, you know, there's just, and so, I don't know. We know it's a dilemma. We've continued to, in 2 years, or 3 years, we'll be able to fix this. We're going to be paying a higher rate towards overtime because of the stipend requirement. But in 3 years, we have to change that style of pay. So then it would if you could get to the point in that period of time where you were fully staffed and you had people, then it drops that cost because we're not spending that the same.
But we can get to the point where we're fully staffed and we have applications still coming in because the pay's there, we can pick better applicants, or we may have the opportunity to pick the better applicants out of 10. We may have 2 or 3 that really stand out and 2 or 3 that don't.
Right.
But right now, we're taking every applicant that we get.
Sure. And that's a hard slot to be in because, you know as well as I do that can bring some not so desirable workforce to you that is just not as dependable, or just like the guy that didn't show back up Friday. And you get a lot of
It takes a couple of years to get some experience, or they really comfortable with what they're doing.
right.
So we just gotta keep the retention there.
If we were to do it, my thought would be we'd have to wean ourselves off of it over the 3 years. We can't continue to rely on ARPA over the next 3 years to supplement it. And we take a hard look at it next year as to what net effect we have. Have we actually reduced overtime? Is it actually working?
But you'll have information to
We'll have.
build
We'll
on.
have some information by that time.
So, my thought would not be to go forward with the 100% ARPA supplement over the next 3 years. We pull ourselves back off of it gradually if we do this.
How do you, if you're paying a supplement of 5,200 or 7,800, how do you wean yourself off that?
You pull the supplement out and put it into actual salary.
That's
Yeah.
where we're
Okay.
gonna have to actively raise the salaries and lower
Yeah.
the supplement over time.
If it's working.
Possibly with,
Now, I do agree with that.
either with taxpayer dollars or the revenue from the US Department.
Right.
The other
I don't
thing,
think we live
I'm sorry.
I just don't think-
One thing that this court has done, and I didn't agree with it for this upcoming year, I thought we should have increased taxes, but you have put yourself now into a position that next year, really the voter approved rate is, by the current law, is actually up to a 10.5% increase. Because we haven't applied that 3.5%
For 2 years.
last year,
Yeah.
this year, and you would have it next year. Now, I'm certainly not recommending anything like that, but you can phase in marginal increases and leverage that money
That's
and
exactly.
work your way off it, as you were saying. And hopefully, the other things will come to fruition. But to me, if we don't plant and fertilize this seed now, then we can, we're gonna keep having the same problem. We're gonna have to count on the leadership to modify, adapt, and lead to do the things that develop good, competent, retainable staff. Yes, ma'am.
So I just kind of wanted to bring a couple of things to the court's attention. Historically, when we got our initial raises, however many years ago, and we had the step-in grade for detention staff. Historically, until I believe it was last year, we didn't max pay those employees until they hit right before their anniversary. So we attempted to assist the court in not max paying every single one of those salaries, except for jailer ones. A couple of months ago, I put up suggestion boxes in the jail. Majority of the issues in the jail is not supervisors, it's pay. That's one of the main things that I got, benefits, and the issues between the two facilities. This facility doesn't function like that facility does, this shift doesn't function like that facility does. There were some supervisor issues, and those were addressed. I also just had a meeting with all of the detention staff and all of the supervisor staff in 2 separate meetings. Majority of those issues were not supervisor related. It was, fears with the upcoming facility, training, stuff like that. Historically, we haven't had a lot of training. We're offering interpersonal communications, we're offering leadership courses, things that we haven't really offered. But since we've been in this new facility, we have the areas to train in, we're utilizing those. And so, while I understand the taxpayers, and the court, saying that it's this, and this, we are doing everything that we can on our end to make it better. But the jail is not for everybody.
But we're not able to see what you're doing. And we control the checkbook, that's all we control.
Correct.
And if we're gonna write a big check, we need to be able to see some results.
I
and-
understand
And how that's happening. What
I
are we
understand.
doing to make that happen? So,
And that's part of the reason why I asked about those exit interviews. It wasn't, I'm not trying to be mean to anything with the jail staff, but sometimes you need other eyes to look on something to see if you're doing something wrong. No different than me. I mean, with my business, sometimes somebody on the outside might be able to say, well, why are you doing this way? It might work better if you try this. We're a big county here. There's a lot of people here. We have an HR department, so why not rely on them to do some of those exit interviews and to help you gain some information that might help you retain people?
we're all trying to work together for the common goal of taking care of our citizens the best way possible.
Mr. Crutchfield?
Yes, sir. As a taxpayer and employee here, Brian Peeler does most of the hiring and training, it seems like, for the jail. And he used to do it over across the hall where the IT office is now taken over. So now he does it in the mail room, which is right in front of my current office. And he goes through his big spiel, and he's got it down pat. But he always tells them, all right, this is your date for your physical, this is your date for your psych eval. If you miss it and it's your fault, this is how much it's gonna cost you if you wanna retest, blah, 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 and on down the line. This kid that didn't come back Friday, we just lit $500 readily on fire, put a match to it, because that's about what those tests cost to the county, every time somebody doesn't come back.
Yeah.
That's the cost of that as well, if we're not able to retain these guys.
No, it's not an inexpensive business. The other thing that has come along is we are working on some contracts with other counties that are interested in our new facility. One even thinks they might close their jail. One, we would gain those people at a daily pay to us. The second thing is they have 11 of 12 positions currently filled that might be very good people to bring over here. So, and then the Marshal Service, we're hoping that will increase as our facility, but we've got to have more personnel and retain good personnel to increase that. You know, it's kind of like, you know, shifting gears in the old manual transmission. Sometimes the synchronizer doesn't quite line up the way it should. You hear a little grinding, but we need to grind through this and get on there and do it. Anything else, anyone? Okay. I need a motion and
Well, I would make the motion that we continue on as Cheryl has presented us with the spreadsheet at hand, and then do as Mark commented, take a look at it in our next budget. See, Will does a tremendous job of keeping us posted on those hours. We used to never have that, Will, and y'all understand all of those. You and Lisa work great on that, and we've got the information at hand to make those kind of decisions and do, like Cheryl says, replace some of that pay as we move forward, and so we could be at a 3-year mark with fully funded in the tax dollar instead of free money, so.
okay. Is there a second?
I'll second it with the understanding that ARPA can be pulled next year. We need to review it through the budget process, and if it's not working out, then we pull it.
I don't quite understand the motion. Is the motion for $7,800?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Any other comments? Anyone? Anyone on the phone wish to make any comment? Okay. Then I'll call for the vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
No.
Motion carries 3-1. Thank you. Okay. Next item is discuss, consider, take action on proposed commissioner and justice of the peace precinct boundaries and authorize the county judge to sign the order establishing criteria for redistricting of political boundaries. Let me be sure and explain something in this, because you're thinking, well, wait a minute, you all discussed this last week. We have some maps that you can look at, but this particular action today doesn't approve the work we did last week.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Right. This approves us going forward after the consultants presented to us that we were out of balance, so we had to redistrict. So what we're approving today does that, but I did want to make a particular note in this document that is part of this, and a lot of it is boilerplate language, but the key thing is in paragraph 14, which it says citizen input should be encouraged, but in order to minimize costs and to have sufficient information to evaluate such proposals fairly, the county will only be considered proposed plans submitted to the county for evaluation by individual citizens groups. If the proposed plan is submitted to the county judge's office or the county clerk, in a commonly used GIS format such as SHP, MAP, KLM, GPX, MDP, along with the maps and demographic data sufficient to address the voting rights concern. You can't just come in and say, man, you really need to swag this line right here. It's got to have basis to it, it's got to have facts to it, and then we can get with Mr. Bass and work those suggestions. The only thing I would say to anyone, we did our very best in preliminary work to try to maintain the integrity of the voting percentage of precinct 3, which is the minority precinct, and I don't know anything we can do to change that. We didn't quite hit the same impact of predominantly black and Hispanic voters in that, because we've had a shift with new programs, affordable housing being in different areas of the county. Many of our people have been able to move out of what was more of a lower economic poverty area into different areas throughout the county. So therefore that success has diluted the minority impact in precinct 3. It's not by anyone trying to manipulate or do anything, but in the exercise we spent, the majority of the time was try to get the best numbers in precinct 3 that we could, that the minority vote impact would not lose any of its impact. That's the way I put that. Any other questions, comments?
Are we getting a full GIS file so we can drill down to street level and see?
That's my understanding we will.
Okay.
And Judge, how does, Judge Judy was gracious enough to come today, and as administrating JP, she, I didn't know what he had indicated he thought those changes to the JP precinct may be.
He didn't give us anything. They are working on that. The reason this is being pushed along for the other offices, and we need to have it by the 13th for the JPs, because that's the first day of filing, is November 13th. December 13th is the last day of filing for office. So we will have to have those JP precincts. However, he said he didn't believe they would change much, if or much at all.
So that is a possibility, there be no change.
There is a possibility of that, because they're not held to the one man, one vote.
Okay.
We did some changing one year to realign the JP precincts to allow people in an area that wanted the development there. They also wanted to have liquor licenses, and those were areas in another precinct. And so by changing that it had to go a certain period before that couldn't just be changed it one day and they open and sell later the next. But we met that criteria and did that.
Is there, Judy, right now any problem with the layout? I mean, that seems to flow and work good the way it is presented today? Okay.
The only thing is, if it does change, would you please let the JPs know, because when I first came in, I went to a hearing in discussion, he said it shouldn't bother you, don't have to come. Well, I found out 2 years later, it did include me. I didn't know my life had changed. That's the only reason I really got into it, because you didn't know your life's changed.
Yeah, and I probably was thinking, Brother Narrow, it didn't bother you because we didn't change the precinct and leave your house out of it.
No, I just went all the way up into Wichita,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I didn't know.
But-
Turkey Ranch Road.
yeah. So that's, but the action today simply formalizes what we did to go ahead and do redistricting. And then next Monday, we will take the action to have people be able to, us come in and vote and establish those boundaries. And we'll make contact with Mr. Bass, make sure we have the JP lines by that time also.
Judge, don't forget Constable Lines.
Oh, I'm sorry,
They
Constable.
run by the
But they
JP.
run
Yes.
with
Constables,
the JP.
Those still have to be addressed.
Yeah.
So motion to approve the order establishing criteria for redistricting political boundaries.
I'll second it.
Okay. Any comments or questions on this item? Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Beecham, second by Commissioner Fincannon to approve establishing the order, establishing criteria for redistricting of political boundaries. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Item 7 is receive an update on courthouse and elevator projects and law enforcement.
Judge, do we want to go back to George?
Oh, I'm sorry, George, yeah, we do. You've been sitting there patiently. Okay, we were not ready to go on with your item without you telling us, and that's back to item 4. Discuss, consider, take action to approve the purchase of a Duo two-factor authentication for 3 years for 150 user license in the amount of $26,827.20, or 500 user licenses in the amount of $87,480, and to provide enhanced security for access to the Wichita County local area network to be paid from information grant money, infrastructure grant money.
If that's possible.
Is that 87,000 for 3 years or 87,000 a year?
For 3 years.
For 3 years?
That's about 3, yes, sir.
Okay.
And why he said, that clicked on me, thanks. Their cybersecurity is part of ARPA.
Yes, but I think it's got a narrow focus on what we can use that cybersecurity for. So I don't think we can include it for just everybody in the county. Like, I think it's gonna be like, we can use it for those, like my office, those with financial, those with certain things. It's got a focus in that bill. I don't think we can just use ARPA for cybersecurity because we want to use it for cybersecurity. It's got some focus in that bill.
We might
If it-
wanna- Because what I was trying to say, when you're talking about 150 licenses versus 500 licenses, can we segregate that? Because any one of that 500 that can come into the system can be hacked and expose the whole system to a virus. or
I wondered
ransomware.
just what the judge is saying, George,
The
is
500 number is about how many users we have on the network, user accounts within the domain that we have. The 150 covers users who either have a mobile device or have the ability to work from home, log in remotely, things like that. You go over, I don't see how you can go overboard on security, is why I put the doing it for everyone out there, because the risks are not going to go down. There's more and more every day, every week, you hear more and more attacks. This, the two-factor authentication, passwords get hacked all the time. And it's just, there's one more step of proving that when you enter that password, that it's actually used, another way to authenticate you.
So help me understand the 500 user license. We have 500 employees. And the vast,
520, yes, sir.
yeah, jailers don't have their own individual account. Not really.
Yeah, they do.
Do they?
Windows account, yes, sir.
So everybody has an account?
Everyone should have their own individual
Road and Bridge,
network
probably,
account.
Road and Bridge, other than the foreman or assistant foreman, probably doesn't.
They may not, well,
No, I think they do. I think my guys do. It may not be used all the time, but
All your
Well-
precinct guys have an email?
I think so.
Yeah, they all do.
Well, George, am I as vulnerable not having, you know, any of a great software connection to any point as Cheryl or Tracy would be, because they have a higher priority within? Is it the same concern for me as it would be for them too? I mean, we certainly don't want anyone in our financials, we don't want anyone in our court record where they're not supposed to be, but do I have that same concern, or could I be the type of person that didn't have to have it?
I think it's a concern for everyone. You're not concerned about what you have access to, you're concerned about who has access to the network.
Okay,
Because once,
That's what I wondered.
Something is introduced to the network, it can make everyone's life miserable.
okay,
So that's what we're trying to authenticate. And
okay.
Actually here, last week, which is something that's frustrating from an IT perspective, you spend $3,500 on someone to have a mobile device, and then they don't take it with them when they go home. Instead, they log in from their home computer to get on the OO, and because of this, they found out that there's virus on their home computer. They didn't have a password on it. They didn't have, there was 2 or 3 or 4 things that it stopped it. Like, no, you're not getting on the network, sorry. And they got a $3,500 mobile device sitting on their desktop here. So, anyway, I'll get off my soapbox. But if we need to narrow it down, as far as the funding, we can certainly take a look at that.
Oh, I would be very concerned about narrowing it down. I personally think everybody that touches our system,
Well, yes.
the step up to that is very.
So Cheryl, is it possible to qualify some of those to pay and some may not be eligible for pay?
I think so, I would just have to look at what that bill is, what the verbiage is in the bill.
If it,
So it does have a focus, certain areas I can cover with ARPA, certain areas I probably can't.
Okay.
if it, like you said, if it deals with financials, I don't know, you'd think anybody that had access to Munis or anything like that would have,
Well, I will say Munis, is hosted by Tyler, it's not hosted by us, so it does have, and it does, certain areas of Munis does have already a 2-factor authentication. So like Matt and I, when we get into set up admin stuff and set up users, it requires 2-factor. And then the other users, we grant permission to them, and they have to be through the
It might be worth reaching out, since much of our stuff is service, software as a service. I don't know whether, so I'm getting out of my expertise here, but is there enough protection that's on that, or is it really that we need to look at every one of our users having that to reduce the opportunity that somebody could get into that? Because even if I open my account and I go to Odyssey or Munis, I've still got to go through another password and sign in.
Just to get on the
Yeah.
network itself, and with the Duo, you can, target specific applications as to what you want protected with the 2-factor, one of which would be, Outlook Web Access. That was one of the first ones that we set up. Another one is going to be VPN. Is this really you that's trying to VPN the network type situation? Odyssey is one that we kicked around, because Odyssey, not Odyssey, but our previous vendor, when they were locally hosted, they authenticated through LDAP, which is the Windows Domain Security. Odyssey, because it's off-site hosted, it does not interact with our Windows domain as far as authentication. But that is something that we could set up with 2-factor. as well with this duo, but. This house.
So recommendation would be for the 150, or I mean, the 500 user
Yes, sir.
license to do
That's my
over
recommendation.
3
yes, sir.
years.
Why not two things here? One, let's find out about the money, so we know
Yeah.
whose money we're spending. But second, maybe talking to our software providers, just to see if they have any comment before we spend that money, whether they're saying, wait a minute, we'll provide that, or we do something else, whether that's, anything we're, because we hadn't asked, we're overlooking. So I can't believe it's something they're selling, they wouldn't have already tried to, sell us that. So,
Table it and await further information.
yeah, let's do, but it was,
Okay.
try to get something, it's kind of like, I'm working on a thing with some others that really are gonna, I thought the deal when we presented, the rifle vests were presented to Wichita Falls PD. I'm thinking we need these for our law enforcement people. And what was it, 2 days later, we had that situation out on Turkey Ranch Road. And I'm thinking, man, I hope we didn't wait too long to get them. They did a great job, no one was injured, but there were, it could have been worse. So, what I'm saying with this is try to get something done this month or sooner on this and see what we come up with. Okay. All right, so no action to be taken on that one. Thanks for coming up, sir.
Yes, sir. Sorry, I was late, I apologize.
No, that's all right.
Sorry to drag it out. You was too late getting here.
I got shanghaied in the hall. It happens. Thank you.
Okay. Now, Commissioner Beecham, you want to give us an update?
Yeah, as you can see, they've started boxing around the elevators, and we'll go into full demolition mode on Wednesday here at the courthouse, so everything's moving along. I believe the sidewalk got approved at the annex. They put the fence around the building. They'll start next Monday doing the sidewalk work, so one thing at a time. It's getting there.
Thanks for all you're doing on that,
Things are looking good. It doesn't even look like the same building.
No, it doesn't.
Okay. You want to do this deal on the announcement? That was yours and Ms. Jennings' project.
Yeah, in the announcement, we have the Bash the Courthouse for Charity event this afternoon, starting at 4:30. We have an opportunity, since we start full-on demolition on Wednesday, I thought it would be fun to let our employees grab a sledgehammer and tear down the old sheriff's department walls. $1 a swing, and each dollar will go to First Step for domestic violence awareness, which we did highlight all last month. So come out and join us this afternoon, bring your dollar bills, and we have quite a few good door prizes too to give out for anybody that participates. And hopefully we can have a little fun with our staff, raise a little awareness and raise a little cash as well, and start the demolition process. Who doesn't want to break walls down in the courthouse? Lori, how many times have you wanted to do that, Lori? Just get the story in. You have a chance now.
Can outsiders come and participate?
You
Yeah,
can,
yeah.
because we're not really opening it up to the general public because I don't want to get a bunch of lines. But yes, if you want to come and participate,
Yeah,
please
you're a
do.
semi-insider. You're a wannabe insider, so.
Yeah. Yeah, please come by at 4:30 this afternoon. If you never swung a sledgehammer through a building wall, it's a lot of fun.
Well, now this says 4 to 5:30.
4 to 5:30. That's
Yeah,
what-
okay.
Yeah, 4 to 5:30, yes. I said that right. But all for a good cause and a little employee wellness to a morale boost.
There's a waiver for you to sign?
There is a waiver. Yeah, we do have to sign a waiver to participate, but we do have safety glasses and et cetera to keep everybody, make sure we're safe.
And tomorrow, Judge, election, I guess.
Yes. Yeah, ask Lori, she might know something about it. But you'll have, how many vote centers open tomorrow? 10. Okay. And they are throughout the county, and all you have to do is go to any one of them, and you will be able to vote. And do that. Anything else? Anyone thought of something that needs to be shared right now? All right. It is 11:25, and we're adjourned.
All right.